The microphone screeched, cutting through the laughter of 150 guests at my parents' 30th anniversary gala. My father cleared his throat, raised his glass, and pointed directly at me. To my eldest, he announced with a cold smile, proof that even with every advantage, some investments yield zero return. The room erupted into polite, cruel chuckles. My mother didn't flinch. My brother smirked. They thought I would bow my head, take the insult, and quietly pick up the $20,000 banquet bill like always. Instead, I placed my credit card back into my wallet and walked out. The microphone screeched, cutting through the laughter of 150 guests at my parents' 30th anniversary gala. My father cleared his throat, raised his glass, and pointed directly at me. To my eldest, he announced with a cold smile, proof that even with every advantage, some investments yield zero return. The room erupted into polite, cruel chuckles. My mother didn't flinch, she just sipped her champagne. My younger brother, Julian, smirked from the head table, basking in the spotlight. They genuinely believed I would simply bow my head, absorb the humiliation, and quietly hand over my credit card to settle the lavish $20,000 banquet bill like I always did. Instead, I placed my card back into my wallet, clicked it shut, and pushed my chair back. I was seated at the far corner table, tucked behind a massive concrete pillar where they had deliberately hidden me from their elite friends. I didn't yell. I didn't flip a table. I adjusted my jacket and walked steadily across the polished marble floor toward the heavy double doors. As I reached the lobby, the banquet manager rushed over with an invoice clipboard. "Mr. Vance, we need your final authorization for the open bar before 9. I glanced back through the glass at my father starting another boastful toast. "My brother Julian is listed as the host," I said calmly. "Collect it from him." Then, I walked into the night. For 12 years, I had been nothing more than the family's invisible safety net. While my brother Julian played the dashing golden child whose business ideas constantly collapsed, I worked 80-hour weeks as an architectural engineer, quietly cleaning up his disasters. Whenever Julian crashed an uninsured sports car or defaulted on luxury apartment rent, my mother would call me, her voice trembling with manufactured grief. "Liam, you're the responsible one," she would whisper. "Family protects family." So, I paid. I paid off the massive second mortgage my parents took out to fund his failed restaurant. I covered my sister's entire college tuition so they wouldn't have to dip into their country club savings. I even paid the $10,000 non-refundable deposit for tonight's anniversary ballroom. Yet, when I looked at the glossy event program resting on every gilded table, Julian's portrait was plastered on the front page, naming him the sole sponsor of our parents' grand legacy. My name wasn't mentioned once. I was expected to stay in the shadows, fund their aristocratic illusions, and smile while they tore me down in public. For nearly 3 decades, I confused their emotional blackmail with love. But sitting in my car that night, watching the hotel valet lights flicker in the rearview mirror, the illusion shattered completely. I drove straight to my downtown apartment, my hands perfectly steady on the steering wheel. The suffocating fog of obligation that had ruled my entire adult life had vanished the second I left that ballroom. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and began severing every financial cord connecting me to the Vance family. Over the years, out of pure convenience, I had tied my primary accounts to nearly all of their living expenses. First, I removed my debit cards from their luxury SUV lease portal, ensuring the next payment would bounce directly back to my father. Next, I canceled the auto-pay on their estate's property taxes, a $6,000 quarterly bill I had quietly covered for 4 years. I removed myself as the guarantor on Julian's high-end gym franchise lease and transferred my personal savings from the joint credit union into a private account at an entirely different bank. Then came the darkest discovery. While downloading my credit history to freeze my profile, I found an unauthorized second home equity inquiry filed 3 days prior, with my forged signature as the primary cosigner. Julian's newest venture was already queued to drain another $80,000 from my credit. I instantly flagged the application as identity fraud with the lender, locking the submission cold. I closed my laptop, packed 2 large suitcases with my essential documents and clothes, and set my phone to silent. The bank was officially closed, and the vault was permanently sealed. By midnight, the dam broke. My phone lit up on the nightstand with 18 missed calls from Julian and 6 frantic voicemails from my mother. Her tone had swung wildly from regal authority to sheer panic. "Liam, the hotel manager has threatened to hold your father's watch as collateral because Julian's card declined. You are embarrassing this entire family. Get back here immediately." I didn't respond. I simply texted the group chat, "The Bank of Liam is permanently out of service. Happy anniversary." Then, I powered down the phone. The following morning, I finalized my transfer to our regional Seattle office, a relocation I had delayed for months out of misplaced family loyalty. By Monday, I was on a one-way flight across the country. Within 2 weeks, the house of cards collapsed entirely. Without my automated subsidies, the county sent a delinquency notice on the family home. Julian's gym lease fell through when the forged credit line bounced, triggering immediate default penalties on his commercial space. My father stormed into my old building in Chicago, demanding entry from the landlord, only to discover I had already broken the lease and vanished. For the first time in their lives, they were forced to face the harsh arithmetic of their own lifestyle without my paycheck to cushion the blow. 3 weeks into my new life in Seattle, my personal email inbox pinged with a message from my father. There was no apology, no reflection, and certainly no remorse. "Liam, you have humiliated this family beyond measure. You walked out on our anniversary over a harmless joke, leaving Julian to face public shame and our household accounts frozen. We gave you life, paid for your early schooling, and made sacrifices for your future. You owe this family your absolute loyalty. Wire the property tax balance by Friday and call your mother immediately." I stared at the screen, drinking my morning coffee as rain tapped softly against my office window. The sheer entitlement was breathtaking. They still believed guilt was a currency they could spend on me whenever their debts came due. I opened a reply, keeping my fingers steady and my tone cold. "The joke revealed what you truly thought of me, the unpaid bills proved what you truly wanted from me. I was never your son, I was an interest-free line of credit. Consider my permanent absence the final return on your investment. Any further attempts to contact me, my employer, or use my credit will result in immediate legal prosecution for the fraud you attempted on my name." I attached the timestamped bank logs showing the forged loan application, along with a formal cease and desist letter drafted by my attorney. I hit send, blocked their email addresses, and closed the laptop forever. 2 years have passed since that anniversary gala, and I have never once looked back. Through mutual acquaintances back in Chicago, I learned that my parents were forced to downsize to a modest 2-bedroom condo after selling the colonial house to settle their accumulated debts. Julian finally had to take an entry-level sales job when there was no one left to bankroll his lavish lifestyle. As for me, my architectural firm made me a senior partner last autumn. I bought a quiet cedar home surrounded by evergreen pines overlooking Puget Sound. My mornings are silent, my finances are entirely my own, and my life is filled with people who value my presence rather than my bank account. People sometimes ask if walking away from your own family leaves a hollow ache. The truth is, the only thing I felt when I walked out of that ballroom was gravity returning to normal. Blood may make you related, but respect is what makes you family. The moment you stop financing your own disrespect, the entire world opens up. And for the first time in my life, I am finally free.